physical activity, pareho lang ba ito? Is it synonymous with the term exercise? If not, how are these two different?
Exercise is 30 minutes to 1 hour. So what physical activities would require for strength, tapos muscles that will equate to caloric expenditure. Pag sinabi mong exercise, then it is more vigorous para 15 to 30 minutes lang. Versus physical activity, it's the ordinary activity that you do to equate the expenditure that you might get in a 15 to 30 minutes exercise. So yun po ang difference.
Several factors can limit anyone at any age from certain movements, and this can include levels in strength, a person's age, as well as, most importantly, their health condition. Are there certain age groups, maybe genders, or even body conditions that are only limited to a certain set of physical activities? Kumbaga, kailangan hindi ba one size fits all, kumbaga ang mga exercise routines na pwedeng gawin?
For example, may health risk yung tao, so we have to assess that first before we give them workout. Ang misconceptions kasi dito sa atin, or kahit saan naman, is the physical activity or resistance training will stunt the growth of a younger person, which is not true kasi major fitness centers all over the world and major health organizations are recommending resistance training for all walks of life. Then tapos, ang pinaka-goal natin dito, especially for the younger generation, is yung magkaroon sila to develop a habit to improve the attitude about feeling of activity. So makikarry nila yan towards adult life nila.
Paano bang pinakamagandang malaman ng mga viewers natin kung anong activity ang angkop para sa kanila?
Before we conduct a fitness program, before we give them, we usually give them PAR-Q. Or ito yung this is to simplify it, it's a readiness questionnaire. So may checklist siya, it's pre-approved na scientifically proven. Then kapag meron siyang yes sa isa dun sa 7 questions na yon, we refer them to medical professionals to further assess them. Then after that, if it's cleared by the doctor, we give them specific kung ano yung kailangan nila, depending also on their goal.
Pag-usapan naman natin yung mga elderly. Is exercise still important kapag may edad na ang isang tao? Kasi at a certain age, pwedeng meron silang mobility issues. Pwedeng meron silang ibang pre-existing condition, a heart condition for that matter. Is exercise still part of a healthy program para sa mga taong ito?
So there has to be a cardiac clearance for these patients kasi meron silang hypertension o kaya yung heart rate nila has to be seen. But in as much as they are allowed to do exercise, they have to. Kaya meron tayong tinatawag na is it a passive exercise, pwede din passive exercise or active exercise. So in all age groups, they have to be conditioned para somehow they can do some physical activity depending upon the age. Kaya sa elderly, di ba, meron tayong walking. It can still equate some kind of physical activity which is needed for good health.
Pag-usapan natin kung ano yung mga health risks that a person may have kapag hindi nila ginagawa ang exercise, kapag mababa ang kanilang physical activity despite being healthy overall.
Exercise is really a function of weight gain, obesity. Obesity is hypertension. So you have a lot of health risk pag obese ka, no? Yung sa diabetes number 1, hypertension, no? So if you gain weight, yung obesity na BMI mo, sabi nila high risk for obesity, high risk for diabetes. So physical activity and diet are the functions to decrease obesity at hypertension. Physical activity nga sa hypertension will decrease the hypertension by 30% with the medication.
Now, after the break, we'll share tips on how you can stay fit if you are on a budget. Keep it right here on MedTalk Health Talk. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez and welcome back to MedTalk Health Talk, where caring is our calling. You don't need to go far from home to do some physical activities. You can hit 2 birds with 1 stone by doing chores at home. Coach Jay, can you give us some household chores that can translate to a workout, even maybe a full workout? Pwede ba yun?
Pwede naman, Doc. Ang misconception din kasi na gusto natin correct that you can only burn calories kapag nag-exercise ka. So mali po iyon. So, ang exercise is a small part of your caloric expenditure. May tinatawag tayong NEAT or non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So, ito yung mga activity outside of exercise. We do household work, or we do gardening, we do groceries. So, makakatulong siya lahat para ma-improve natin yung basal metabolic rate natin, which in the long run, mas magbe-benefit kayo and mas makaka-burn kayo ng maraming calories.
Pwede pa rin bang maging physically active and healthy kahit na minimal lang ang pawis?
Yung pawis kasi is not always a good indicator of a good workout. So for example, yung temperature kasi natin, it affects, di ba, kung papawisan tayo or hindi. So mas maganda, scientifically, we professionals, we use the heart rate training zone or the zone training. So yung zone training, ang ginagawa namin, we identify two threshold markers. Ito yung ventilatory threshold 1 and ventilatory threshold 2.
We'll talk about heart rates and the best way to achieve those target heart rates safely later on in the show. But first, we're talking about household chores and how those activities can increase your physical activity and even lead to exercise. But how about the things that we do enjoy doing, such as hobbies? Could this be considered a workout? Coach Jay, pag-usapan natin yon. Are there fun activities that can get our hearts pumping at the same time burn those much-needed calories?
Everyday activities natin is considered as zone 1. Ibig sabihin ito, during this interview, while I'm watching you asking us questions or kahit nakaupo lang ako dito, I'm spending energy already. So ibig sabihin, yung mga na-enjoy natin like walking the dog or siguro ibang forms of exercise like doing yoga or doing dancing, lahat nagsasum up. We don't have to limit the exercise on the gym time alone kasi ang gym time, it only takes for about 1 hour or maximum 2 hours of your day. So the rest, the 22 hours, ikaw yung may control nun, not your coach, not the exercise program that you're doing. So the more you move in a particular day, the more ka mas nag-burn ng calories. In fact, may study, yung mga nag-workout vigorously in a day, is mas less pa sila nag-burn kung hindi rin naman sila gumagalaw throughout the day. So mas beneficial po talaga kapag may ginagawa tayong other form of activities rather than doing exercise alone.
So marami talagang activities na pwedeng mag-translate into good physical activity and fitness for that matter. Now, Dr. Juliet, ang tanong is, does the physical activity matter? Or kung gaano ka taas umaabot ang heart rate natin doon sa binanggit na target heart rate, is the level of heart rate more important than the actual activity? Kumbaga, is cooking considered an exercise as long as it gets us to that target heart rate?
Well, the heart rate increases depending sa activity kasi cooking might not increase your heart rate as much. So, hindi medyo mild to moderate siya. So, it is the activity that will increase the heart rate. So, talagang parang directly proportional yung dalawa. No, a moderate activity, higher heart rate. So, your heart rate might make you get the target heart rate more than a mild activity. So, just cooking probably might not be enough to achieve the physical fitness or caloric expenditure that you like for an exercise. So, more activities might be better than just cooking.
Now, after the break, we'll discuss how knowing your heart rate zone can help you in your overall fitness and health. Only here on MedTalk Health Talk. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez and welcome back to MedTalk Health Talk, where caring is our calling. One of the ways to know that if you can keep up with the demands of a physical activity is your heart rate zone. Dr. Juliet, pag-usapan natin naman yung heart rate ng isang tao. How important is it? Is there a way that they can physically know kung anong heart rate zone nasaan sila without the use of a heart rate monitor?
Basically, for you to know your maximum heart rate, your maximum heart rate is 220 minus your age. So if you are 45 years of age, 220 minus 45. Then you have what you call your resting heart rate. Your resting heart rate is your heart rate when you don't have an activity. So you subtract now your target heart rate minus the resting heart rate is your target heart rate. So what happens is during an activity, you don't have to go in excess of your computed heart rate. Kailangan, if you have a moderate activity, it should be only between 60 to 75% of your computed heart rate. And then if you have a severe activity, it should be 75 to 93% of your computed heart rate. So exceeding that might be a health hazard. That's why sometimes we have sudden death during exercise. So keeping your heart rate within range, within heart rate during moderate to severe exercise is very important.
Meron bang paraan, Dr. Juliet, na malaman nila? Is there a way to gauge kung ano ang adequate heart rate kapag nag-exercise ang isang tao? Could conversation be a good clue?
It's not moderate to severe. Conversation is not moderate to severe. So I think it's very safe now. If your heart rate is, resting heart rate is 60 to 80, maximum of 100 during conversation might be enough.
Okay, so a rough guide for our viewers, if you're doing any physical activity, if you are still able to converse in intelligible sentences with someone, or you can talk, that means that you are still in an okay zone when it comes to your heart rate. If you cannot speak, meaning your effort is so high that you cannot speak clearly anymore, then that you are reaching your maximum heart rate already by then. Now, adequate sleep of 6 to 8 hours or longer will help your body recover from muscle injury, inflamed joints, and so on. Why does the body need to rest after a workout?
Magandang question yan kasi it's connect pa rin dun sa zone of intensity natin. So, the intensity of training natin. So, to add lang din yung sinasabi kanina ni Dr. about the maximum heart rate so we can connect it all. Ang determining factor natin kapag nasa zone 1 ka or low intensity level is yung nakakausap ka pa ng matino, na nakapag-verbalize ka pa. Kapag nasa zone 2 ka na moderate intensity, ito naman yung medyo challenge yung pagsasalita, hindi ka na comfortable. Kapag nasa zone 3 ka na, yung na intensity or maximum heart rate which is 70 to 90%, ito na yung nakakapagsalita ka pero pa isa-isang words na lang. So important ito sa amin to determine yung recovery zone din ng isang client or pasyente. For example, if you're familiar with the HIIT program, di ba? Ang HIIT program kasi, ang structure niya is working on a zone 3 or intense level of exercise. Kaya kapag nag-HIIT ka, if you guys nakagawa na ng isang HIIT program, hindi ka naman nakakapagsalita during the workout. Tapos, after a specific exercise, bumababa yung intensity level, ibinabalik namin yung heart rate. We're trying to bring down your heart rate to a zone 1 level para ma-replenish yung tinatawag natin na ATP. Kasi yung kapag nasa zone 3 ka, yung ginagamit mo na dyan na source of energy is yung ATP mo is yung naka-store na lang sa muscles mo, which is very limited.
Okay.
Kaya nagkakaroon siya ng mga waste products na nararamdaman natin parang nag-burn na yung muscles natin. So we have to rest. So yung pag bumalik ka na sa zone 1 level ulit, nagre-recover ulit yung body mo kasi you're utilizing again oxygen in your stored fat.
So the recovery phase, basically after a good workout, is to replenish those muscles of their vitally needed nutrients, and a recovery is definitely as important as a workout. Now, Coach Jay, how about diet? How important is diet? 50-50 ba ito with exercise? Some people say, di ko kailangan mag-diet kasi win-workout ko naman ito. What's the risk? What's the danger in this kind of thinking?
Sabi nga nila, Doc, no, you cannot outrun a bad diet, which is totoo. Kasi we're talking about your caloric expenditure. If we're expending energy, we should replace it. Ang problema, nagkakaroon ng imbalance between calorie intake and calorie output. So, dyan papasok yung diet. Ibig sabihin, kahit anong exercise mo, kahit anong intensity ng exercise mo, if the intake will always exceed the expenditure, you will definitely maintain your weight or gain more fat. So napaka-importante talaga ng diet. So sa diet naman, it works. Marami ring mga iba't ibang studies dyan. So para sa akin, what you need to do is to choose a diet program na mag-work for you. But of course, kailangan based pa rin yan sa safety and scientific evidence.
So we definitely learned a lot, especially about what works, what physical activity is, and of course, that's what we want to promote and eventually move on to some really good health beneficial exercise. Thank you very much, Dr. Juliet Balderas and Coach Jay Garcia, for being with us today and sharing your knowledge and insights with regards to being physically fit. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and we'll see you again next time here on MedTalk Health Talk.
Let's get ready to rumble!